This is the Spurs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the San Antonio Spurs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, one game down with life without Victor Wembanyama, technically two, but you know what? The same result at the end of both of them, and tonight the Spurs take care of business with a little bit of everybody doing it along the way. Welcome into the Spurs POSTCAST right here on Locked On Spurs, of course, the #1 sports podcast network in all of the land. You guys, the everydayers, the Spurs fans, because, you know, if you're checking in with us, there's a good chance you're checking out the other Locked On shows. The everydayers that you guys are, you're the ones that make this possible. Your engagement, your enthusiasm. So kudos to you for hanging out with us throughout the season, much like you are on a Tuesday night and probably feeling good, just like my dear friend, Mr. NBA champion Devin Brown. I'm Casey Viera. Spurs a 111-100 win over the Memphis Grizzlies, my friend. It was not going to be pretty. We knew that. It was going to take a little bit of everybody without Victor and Stephon Castle. We knew that, and all those things were true, but all those things sound that much better when the night ends with a win.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, listen, you can get all the wrinkles out of there. The Spurs win tonight. That's the main thing. You had key contributions from, just about every place, but love to see it. Got to win, and we'll get ready for the next one.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox, the high scorer, 26 points, 3 assists, 10 of 20 from the field. Harrison Barnes had 23 points. More on that in a minute, because I got to tell you how we got there first.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Well, if you were looking for something to put on a tape to show your kids, to show your youth, if you will, your young players from an offensive standpoint, the first half was not what you showed them on tape. Neither team, the Spurs technically cracked 40%, but of course, the Spurs without Victor Wembanyama, Stephon Castle, the Grizzlies without Ja Morant, just kind of gritted their way through a first half of play that ultimately saw the Spurs go up by 2 into the break. Flip the coin to the third quarter. However, Memphis has more points in the third than they did the entire, or almost. They had 40 in the third quarter to regain a 1-point lead going into the fourth. Back and forth game come that fourth quarter between two teams, actually starting to figure it out at this point. But some big-time shot making down the stretch from some big-time guys. And overall, I got my notes, so a balanced effort all the way around that you see. Like I said, Fox 26, Barnes 23, Keldon Johnson with 18 and 7, Kelly Olynyk with 10 points of his own. Collectively, the Spurs, 48% from the field, 56% in the second half. And this number, Devin, 9 turnovers.
Right, yeah.
Get it done in crunch time. Walk away with this 111-101 win.
Yeah, definitely, shout out first. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox, you and I have been hammering him, the last couple of episodes. Well, tonight he showed up, but the guy you mentioned, Harrison Barnes, way to finish it out that game by himself, the little hook shot, old school. Listen, that's why you have a vet like him on this basketball team and what it is that he brings. And you saw, the greatest thing that I saw was when there was a timeout, just all the players that came over there and congratulated him. That tells you what type of leader he is, Casey.
Yeah, so let's get into the specifics of that, because the guy that Sean Elliott calls Mr. 100 essentially turned the game on its head in crunch time.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
I say that Sean Elliott might be standing on his head somewhere down on the Riverwalk. I'm not sure.
He's not sleeping tonight. Sean's not sleeping tonight. That's for sure. That's the guy.
I know. I wish I was hoping this was going to be on. Why did this game have to get flexed, man? If this game was going to be on FanDuel, this might have been the end of Sean Elliott. He might have just combusted, because this was incredible. All right, so enough of the joke. We'll tell you how he did it. So the Spurs go down with 3 and change, 101-100. Cedric Coward, the standout rookie, hits a 3 to put him up. Barnes, after a couple De'Aaron Fox misses, goes on a 7-0 spurt of his own. A hook shot, a fadeaway, and then 3. Bing, bang, boom, 3 consecutive possessions to turn that 1-point deficit into a 6-point advantage. A couple more buckets followed by KJ and De'Aaron Fox in the closing moments. They end the game on an 11-0 run. I think I don't think it's hyperbole to say when it comes to Harrison Barnes, and you said it before, just your classic veteran who knows to be there when the number's called, and he does it, and he did it again tonight.
Well, the biggest thing is, we see, De'Aaron Fox, obviously the ball is going to be in his hands down the stretch. And, like you mentioned before, the first couple of misses, Casey, you and I are going, uh-oh, here we go again. But Harrison said, I got your back. Follow me. I'm going to take you to the promised land. And you know what? Harrison's been doing this since 1989. So to see somebody do that, hey, you always feel good for the veteran players.
I covered Harrison Barnes in college. Fun fact. It was, I didn't have the salt and pepper in my beard. He was at Carolina. Hofstra was playing in. It was pretty cool. I got a free school trip on the play-by-play to call Hofstra, North Carolina, in the Caribbean. And Harrison Barnes, under Roy Williams, was the prized prospect that we talked about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he went out and he did not shoot 100%, much like he did not shoot 100% tonight. It felt like it because the Pride got blown out. But to play to your point, no, 1989. He has not been playing since then, because I would suggest that I'm older than that too. But.
Yeah. Well, yeah, once a night you're gonna get a joke out of me. You got me.
Oh, once?
Well,
just once.
Just once.
No, but in all seriousness, though, this is what it was going to take for the Spurs to get back on track. And even with all of the injuries that they did have, they learned today that Stephon Castle is going to be out 1 to 2 weeks with the hip flexor situation. They played this game without Jordan McLaughlin as well. Your guy McLovin, he hurt his hamstring. He was a late addition to the injury report yesterday. Hurt it on court activity in practice, so he was unavailable. So those backup point guard minutes, man, they were dicey tonight. They were dicey because there was no true backup one that was on the bench. So you saw stretches where they went back to the Point Sohan thing. Keldon gave it a crack. You even saw Kelly Olynyk cross the timeline, hoping for the best. Kelly actually played pretty well tonight. 19 minutes, 10 points, and he kept the line moving. That's all you could ask for. A little bit of everything, and it gets the job done.
Yeah, no. Hey, listen. Hey, Mitch is earning his money right now, right? You look up and you're going, well, who's it going to be? But I'll tell you what, it is what it is. They got to win. It was ugly, but I tell you what, when I was with San Antonio, we won a lot of ugly games too. So if you're in Mitch's situation, you got out of there. Now all you can do is wake up tomorrow and hopefully that these guys are getting healthy and that they'll be back sooner rather than later.
Ain't that the truth? We're going to talk a little bit more about that, the idea of winning ugly, because we knew that's what it was going to take. They did. They bounced back. They played well. Now have a chance to end the homestand with a 3-2 winning record on that. Plus, Mitch Johnson pregame talked for the first time since the news about Victor Wembanyama's injury came out. The whatever you want to call it, the time frame he'd be missing. So he addressed that, said some interesting things about how they're going to manage that going forward. So we're going to touch on that too. Got that and a little bit more coming up for you right here on the Spurs postcast on Locked On Spurs. But before we get there, before we do all that, I want to talk to you about some of our friends who drive this program. And first, we're going to talk about Rippling. If you're a business owner, here's the truth. SaaS promised to make work easier, but now the average company is buried by hundreds of apps that slow down your teams and they just don't work. That's not SaaS, that's sad. Software as a disservice. So that's why you need Rippling. It's a unified platform for global HR, payroll, IT, finance, all in one place. And they've helped millions of businesses replace a mess of disconnected tools with one system designed to give leaders clarity, speed, control. What else more can you ask for? So right now, you can get 6 months free when you go to rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. Learn more at rippling.com/LockedOnNBA. We'll take care of you. Going to get you 6 months free. Also, let's talk about Prize Picks. Of course, This episode brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Tonight, you and I, we make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right's going to get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this sports season. NFL, NBA, both, whatever it may be, no better time to jump in the action. If you haven't tried it, it's the simple way to play, the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats. You get them right, you win. Easy enough. 60 seconds, if that. Make your lineup, and you can play anywhere you go with Prize Picks. And even better, we have a lot of Texas, of course, in this program right now. Checking in. Texas, California, Georgia, you guys are all good to go. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups when you play your first 5. Code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 on your first $5 lineup. As they say at Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And finally, Robinhood. Your ambition just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, futures, crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All right, welcome back into the Spurs postcast right here on Locked On Spurs. San Antonio getting back on the right side of things, or I guess you could say can continue the good vibe on the right side of things. Their second consecutive victory, 111-100 or 111-101 over the Grizzlies. NBA champion Devin Brown hanging out there along with you. All right, ugly, but it counts. That's what it comes down to in these stretches, and what it's going to come down to as long as Victor is out and as long as Stefan Castle is out, and as long as they have to, piece this thing together. Thing. So I ask you, how do they keep that sustainable to do that?
Well, De'Aaron Fox, he's running the show, right? And he's been here before, with rosters that, look a little bit like this in Sacramento. So what's going to have to happen is let him facilitate everything. Let him get going. I told you, we talked about it in the squad show, I wanted him around 32, right? 32 and 11.
Right.
Today, the assists weren't high, but, the scoring was there, and then you get Harrison Barnes. And listen, it doesn't have to be Harrison Barnes every night. Keldon chipped in. It's going to, Vassell's getting ready to have a big game. I'm calling it right now. Keldon's going to be Keldon. Kelly Olynyk, that's a bonus. Luke Cornett, he was effective. He didn't score, but he was effective. And so he's going to have, some numbers coming up here. But to your point, listen, the Spurs got the victory. That's all Mitch cares about. It's one game less, and it's one game closer to you getting Castle and Wemby back.
Let's talk about the Wemby side of things, because Mitch Johnson did give an update today, and I'll bring it up for you. Pre-game, obviously, that was the topic of conversation. It was the first time the Spurs have spoke since the news came out that he was going to be out indefinitely, or at least being looked at again, reevaluated in 2 to 4 weeks. So I'm going to read you the quote just so I give a full context here. He was asked about returning to a form of load management. To which he said, it's at the heart of discussions we've had since we drafted him. What's difficult, very often we look at sports science data. We use past information to make predictions about the future. There aren't many examples that are comparable or reference points to Victor, so it's kind of an ongoing thing. Went on to say it's something they'll remain attentive to because they want him in the best possible conditions, not only in terms of basketball health, but also availability and durability. So there you go. He didn't exactly rule out the load management type deal when he comes back. And if that's what it takes, man, that's what it takes, right? If that's what it takes, they got to be careful. Then they got to be careful with it. I think like the Embiid type situation, I hope it doesn't get to the extent where it's that managed like Embiid, but whatever it takes, right?
Yeah, no, I was thinking about this the other night when he sat out, after that Warriors game, and my mind went a whole different way with it, and we talked about that on the squad show. But the thing about it is that this is a very unique athlete, a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spurs know that, you know, he can play for anybody else. Victor can play for whoever it is that he wants, but San Antonio is trying to make sure that that young man is very comfortable with them, and Victor's got to be very comfortable with his staff and the Spurs staff. So they're really paying attention to this, and I thought that he was just going to sit out the one game, and then even if he was going to play, to lessen his minutes. That's what I was thinking, just because I've been in that building before. So to hear them talk about less minutes and possibly going back to load management, it's right on cue. If you're asking me my honest, it's right on cue.
Yeah. And again, I think it has to be. I think it has to be right on cue, because what other choice do they have? The what they have to do right now of just kind of treating it, I don't want to say like any other guy, but more traditionally, you know, go out, play, rehab, you know, do your training, come back. Cyclical process that they go through. Clearly, there was something there that they have to make a slight adjustment to going forward. And I think if it does mean that they do have to sit him on some tail ends of back-to-back, lose the battle, win the war, you know, because as long as if you get a guy who's healthy, good to go come April, fine. If it means that you're punting on games to keep him healthy in January and February, fine, you do that. If you lose a spot in the seating, guess what it is? It's easier to have them than not have them at all. I just thought it was interesting because I thought that was a little more candid than what I anticipated from Mitch.
Well,
I thought it was going to be, and again, relatively speaking to what we know, but I thought it was going to be we'll evaluate it, just kind of move on, like just a deflection. But he actually, like, you know, he entertained it. And so there was more out of it than I thought I was going to get.
Okay, here's my question to you. So, he evidently something happened the second Warriors game, correct? So that was game 8, 7, 8, whatever it was, right?
Altogether? No, that was game, what are we at? That was game 12, 13, 14. What are we at? Spurs are now 10-4, so they dropped 2. So that was game 12. Game 12.
Okay, so all right, even better. 12. That's better than the 8. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you why and what I'm getting ready to say. So he went 12 games, and you know, I didn't clearly see where he got hit, but something happened, correct?
Yeah.
So he played 12 games. So you gotta understand that some players are gonna be built, because you know he's 7'4", 3'5", whatever he is. I don't think he has the frame on him to play 82 games. That's my point. Yeah. So he went 12 this time. So I don't know if the Spurs, you know, they talk about their data and things like that. I hope they keep an eye on things like that. Like how many games are you going to play him in a row and things like that? I think that's what they're trying to figure out with Wemby right now.
I feel like he's his own worst enemy, Victor. And I think it's just a product of being 21 years old, because we're all superheroes when we're 21 years old. And I think that, you know, there's so much bravado that comes with him. You know, I went training with the monks. You know, I go to bed at 9 o'clock. My head is in the stars, literally, figuratively. All these things like that. My training is different. And I've trained like nobody else that you've ever seen before. Well, okay, how much of that is 21 years old and how much of that is really doing that? Might be a little bit of both. But the reality is, at the end of the day, I think this will probably be a little bit of a learning experience for him to just be like, okay, I'm not Superman. I'm an alien, but I'm not Superman. And I have to, you know, be aware that this type of thing happens. If I'm in that spot, mind you, I'm not. I'm not. But I felt like there's, with a lot of it with him, there's just kind of that eagerness of the 21, 20 or 22-year-old taking over. And it kind of separates from reality a little bit. And maybe this kind of grounds things a little bit. I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a unique circumstance, but I think the Spurs are going to have to navigate it, you know, very, very carefully.
Absolutely.
All right. One guy that we don't really need to navigate carefully, if you will, our player of the game tonight. One that, well, again, we mentioned Sean Elliott at the jump. Sean Elliott's going to be, if he's tuning in, going to be happy about this as well.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
You're excited too about Mr. 100. Not Sean Elliott excited.
Right.
You're excited about Harrison Barnes tonight.
Yeah, once you start talking about Sean Elliott and Mr. 100%, our fans know the award goes to Harrison Barnes tonight. Congratulations, young fella.
Still doing the thing all these years. All right. I think that's a good place for us to put a bow on things on a Tuesday night. Be sure to come back this time tomorrow, a little bit earlier, 9 o'clock, a little bit earlier for the Spurs Squad Show. Of course, a meeting of the minds with myself, Devin, Jeff Garcia, of course, the host on the day-to-day pod, 9 o'clock. Usually we do the squad shows on Tuesday, Thursday, but with the games, we moved it to Monday, Wednesday. You're going to want to come back. We'll obviously touch more on the Mitch Johnson thing, talking Victor Wembanyama, the update, certainly something that deserves more than just a couple minutes of conversation. We'll expand there on that program. And then Thursday, as the Spurs put a bow on the homestand with Atlanta in town, you know who'll be right back there after the game.
Mm-hmm.
Two of us will be there as the Spurs get a chance to try to end the homestand, a unique homestand, for better and for worse. Ultimately win it 3-2 and go 3-2 on the homestand. And that's all you want in that situation. And they have a chance to do that. So we'll find out. So squad show tomorrow, 9 o'clock after the game, a 7 p.m. tip on Thursday. Locked On Spurs will be right there with you. And as we do at the end of every one of these episodes, we shout you out, the everyday listeners, the everydayers. You're the reason that the Locked On Podcast Network is now #1 of all the sports podcast networks. So we deserve to show you all the love that you give. That said, for Mr. NBA champion Devin Brown, I'm Casey Viera. Spurs winners tonight, 111-101. They move to 10-4 on the season.